What is going on, everyone? My name's Boit, and I am back with some more Age of Mythology. The Titans action spawning in the bottom of the map in the blue color, playing as Thor. His name is Grand Monster, the grandest of monsters, also known as Grand D Monster. So he's a grandma that is also a monster. See what I did there? He's known as Oden up the top. It's just a lot easier to write than Grand Monster. I could have wrote GM, but I didn't want to. His opponent today in the red color, playing as Zeus. His name is GrassenGroom. These guys couldn't have made their names similar. Any more similar if they tried, to be honest. I keep getting them mixed up. We're into game number 3 in this best of 3 for the competitive Mega Random group stage. The winner of this game goes on to play everyone else. It's a round robin, and the winner of the group stage, or the highest point people of the group stage, will go on to be the highest seeds of the knockout bracket. And then once the knockout bracket happens, we have the finals, and the finals get very exciting. So I'm here to hope that we can make our way and last until we get to that portion of the tournament. All right. So, game number 3, Zeus versus Thor. We've seen this matchup a lot of the time. We've even seen, I'm pretty sure, we saw almost this matchup once before in a Rappel versus Wesker matchup already. So, I'm interested to see what GrassenGroom is going to take from that and see if Grand Monster's got any decent defenses up his sleeve. Relic on the map, we do have the Dwarven Calipers. It's another siege reduction relic over here, and then we've also got the Scarab Pendant up in this corner of the map, extra siege damage for your siege weapons. Not only that, we get a very, very cool spawn. I love this spawn. This is a spawn that is just really cool. It's a very, very defensive orientated spawn, so it gives you an opportunity to kind of use the map and contain the map, and not completely open, not completely closed. Lots of opportunities. The forests to join in the middle of the cliffs here to allow you to chop through it or leave it there and use it as a natural barrier. Lots of different, very exciting things here for both players to use, and we'll see if that comes in a help or hindrance for GrassenGroom here, as the villagers is continuing to eat the ball. Now, we do have a 900 in base spawn here. Now, if this was me and I was playing Zeus in this matchup, I would be going for a 4-minute advance here because I've got 900 food in my base. This food would be for later. However, because GrassenGroom has gone for this food in the archaic age, it means the 4-minute advance time is impossible. Building this extra granary slows you down too much, so you do have to go for a later advance. You're looking more like a 430. And if you do go for a 430 advance, the best way to play the 430 advance is actually to get yourself a second Minotaur. So you have to get yourself a little bit of favor here because you've only got 15, is it? So you need to have 2 for the Odysseus, and I believe it's 14 for the Minotaur, so you need 16. So you have to get 1 favor from the temple. That's the best way to play the Athena Rush if that's what GrassenGroom is doing. If GrassenGroom wants to go for something slightly different in the center hoplite strategy, and he has to do what he has to do where that's concerned. But it looks like GrassenGroom's build order slightly off. Fear Temple a little bit late. 445 advance time with a Jason. It's going to be even later, which is going to give Grand Monster every ability to set up defenses against potential Athena Rush. And also, surprisingly, we're seeing Freya here. Now, more and more, we're seeing Thor players going for Seti against Zeus players. The idea being that for Seti gives you access to Hall of Thanes, so that if your opponent goes center hoplite, you can go Hersa throwing Axeman into a delayed Hall of Thanes to kind of deal with those center. And if your opponent goes for Athena, then you have access to trolls to deal with the Minotaur mass if it potentially comes. You don't necessarily have to do it, but it's just like an if. And then you also get the healing spring to obviously heal your units up, which ends up being quite important. But we are seeing Athena coming through for GrassenGroom here. So the very delayed aspect of this build here then means that not only do you have to get a Minotaur, but you also should be getting yourself hand axe or pickaxe. that ends up being the important thing here, as the Valkyrie does come in, and we normally see an immediate bolt where that's concerned. And somehow, some way, it seems like the Ulfsark manages to get a kill. And lives! 2 HP remaining here. Grand Monster's got to be happy about that. Trades the Valkyrie for a bolt, picks a villager off with the Ulfsark. Very rarely does that happen. Nice play from Grand Monster in the early stages of the game here. Absolutely love it. As we see archery range and military academy getting dropped down. So this is the big thing when it comes down to it for Zeus players and everyone else alike. You have to say, okay, what can I squeeze out if I get the perfect, if I go as fast as I can? What can I squeeze out? And the answer is you can squeeze out military academy, archery range, Jason, Odysseus. That's it. And you start making units straight away. If you advance a little bit later, you got to go, okay, what can I afford? You can get a Minotaur. You can get hand axe. You can get pickaxe. If you go even later, what can I afford? You start adding everything in and getting those upgrades a little bit earlier. As you can see, GrassenGroom's got tons of resources in the bank as he's now dropping down another military academy. Now, there is nothing really wrong with a delayed Zeus push. The idea being that you just mass units and then you try and take the gold mine. But that's not what normally works here against the Thor players, as we are seeing the Hersa able to finish off this Minotaur, which is really, really important here. Very low HP, lives with 11 HP, and goes down, does manage to pick off 1 raiding cavalry, but these Hersa feeling the pain here as they're getting pushed back. So the Odysseus actually does manage to snipe one of those Hersa as it's running away. We see the Sentry Tower here getting targeted down as the units coming through. GrassenGroom with tons of resources in the bank. And we'll see what he's going to be able to make happen here in this game with his army. Now we see the gate getting torn down as well as the raiding cavalry wander through here. Going to look for something to target down. GrassenGroom wandering forward with his army as the raiding cavalry moving forward. We've got 3 raiding cavalry units here. Now, normally I don't recommend doing these raids, but Grand Monster's built differently. His micro and control is really, really strong. As you can see already, kind of pushing in with a force there, deciding to retreat away, but I'm not taking too much damage on the retreat path here as those raiding cavalry swing around. We do have a forest fire here. GrassenGroom, not really much to do in his base, so he's got to be careful here. This raiding cavalry could come in, pick off a handful of villages with a forest fire as the unit's pushing in for GrassenGroom. This warden wall going to be coming up as well as watchtowers very soon. We've got 58 population here for Grand Monster. We have seen Grand Monster do these fast heroic builds here very, very nicely and consistently. As the raiding cavalry still hanging out over here, they do get greeted by a handful of hoplites, so he will be just leaving that location alone. He can move over here and pick off these villages. There's only 3 that are currently hanging there, and the raiding cavalry do make their way in, and they're going to start taking those villages down very, very shortly here, I would assume, as he does come in and he attacks them. But nice marker there from GrassenGroom, noticing that immediately as the hoplites come through, going to start bashing away, and the raiding cavalry have to retreat. But the village is getting caught out over here. This is absolutely huge for GrassenGroom as the Toxotes coming in, getting almost surrounded there. But a Valkyrie has come out here as Grand Monster is next to 0 resources in the bank, going to be chasing down these units as best as they possibly can. They're very much out of position. A restoration here is almost vitally important as the Valkyrie getting taken down. The throwing axemen doing everything they can, but there's the restoration. The Valkyrie gets sniped down. The unit's going to continue fighting. We do see a forest fire here. Thank you so much for the 7 months, Kit Man. Appreciate you, my friend. And the question is, does this forest fire really do all too much in this situation or not? It seemingly does allow Grand Monster to win this fight, which normally never would happen here against Restoration. Nice play, good decision making from Grand Monster. GrassenGroom on the defensive now as Grand Monster 66 population only in the bank. But the majority of the forces of GrassenGroom have been taken out as the reinforcements do come in here. We see a throwing axeman getting sniped down as GrassenGroom just going to be having to sit here waiting a little bit with his tail between his legs. He does have a handful of cows in his base, or both players have got a handful of cows in their base. So there's no real... I mean, there is a benefit to pushing off this hump, but it's not going to be like game over benefit. It's just a small win where that's concerned. As the throwing axemen pushing forward, going to try and take out these hoplites as best as they can. As the Toxotes have to retreat back, and Grandmonster doesn't really need to fight here. Look at the food in the bank. He's got himself 300 food, 166 gold, throwing up a couple more houses here, getting himself medium cavalry. The army moving through here, as well as the raiding cavalry going to try and just be a little bit sneaky here as the villagers going to retreat away. Don't want to lose any of those, but the forces here of GrassenGroom, very, very speedy though. I think this is just because the ox cart slows the villagers down a ton. We will be seeing one villager getting picked off as the raiding cavalry coming in. Nice marker there from GrassenGroom to put the Toxotes in the back of his army. The heroes there taking down the Valkyrie very, very fast. We see one Jason getting taken down. The Odysseus here with 53 HP getting away with absolute murder, taking down both of those Valkyries there. Should never have been allowed to do that, as GrassenGroom kind of winning this fight here pretty decisively. 86 population for GrassenGroom to Grand Monster's 59 population here, but it seems like the reinforcements coming through are going to get sniped down by these throwing axemen fairly easily. The raiding cavalry, there's not a whole lot of them here, but it does seem like Grand Monster has kept this close, and now that the heroes are taken out, the Valkyrie that is coming through is going to be able to take these units down very, very easily, and Grand Monster says, all right, time to bring more villagers onto this hunt, live the dream where that's concerned. GrassenGroom still throwing units in to the fray here. He's going to be having to retreat away, and Grand Monster is held strong. The Athena pressure from GrassenGroom has not been enough just yet to find any solid advantage. He's picked off a handful of villagers, but that's not enough to beat or get a Norse player to resign, as the units here of GrassenGroom are going to be retreating back into the middle of the map and looking for something to do. See the village is currently idle over here. He does have a handful of cows remaining now. As far as I'm concerned, if you're going for these one town center plays, the easiest way to decide what decision making you should be making in terms of when to tech and when to not tech is, well, if I can get to the heroic age without farming, I should do that. That is the general idea. If you can get to the heroic age without farming, do that. If you can't, then mass units. So the point here is that Grand Monster can, and so too can GrassenGroom. So both players should consider stopping their military production, or they will run into a point where their opponent could potentially be heroic age and put a stop to any sort of pressure that's happening where that's concerned. Now, here's the big problem though for Grand Monster. He actually doesn't have the gold to get to the next stage, so he's going to have to fight yet again against this Greek army here, as Grand Monster swinging around here with his units, going to be sniping down these hoplites as best as he can. 93 population to 103 population, so an advantage for GrassenGroom. The dwarves sitting idle. The gold mines are only up at the top side of the map here thus far. That's all we can see. The heroes both out as the fight is ensuring these raiding cavalry of Grand Monster really not doing all too much here as the hoplites get pushed back. But those throwing axemen have gone to town. How are the armor upgrades looking? Non-existent here for both players, it would seem, as GrassenGroom has to pull back. 99 population, both players seemingly going to be going mass army here. Obviously, Grand Monster has to because he needs to get a gold mine, but point is, I don't think GrassenGroom really does need to. He could have gone Dionysus here, as the village is currently sitting idle, moving over onto this gold mine now. He could have gone Dionysus, gone for a bronze push, or something of that variety here. As Grand Monster wandering forward, going to try and take down these Toxotes as best as he can, but Grand Monster is just continuing to put the pressure on as the dwarves have made their way happily onto this gold mine. Upgrades, no pickaxe, no hand axe, no surprise, but he hasn't got them just yet. GrassenGroom, on the other hand, does have himself a pickaxe here, as he's also in the middle of the map here on this gold mine, which I actually quite like. As the throwing axemen going to town now on these hoplites, but the raiding cavalry do manage to make their way onto the Toxote line here. They can do a ton of damage where that's concerned. GrassenGroom's army here is just not able to kind of compete with the throwing axemen raiding cavalry army the Grand Monster has assembled here. We do see Olympic parentage coming in, but GrassenGroom without medium upgrades just gets completely outclassed by Grand Monster's Thor army here. And this is a really, really interesting development that, I mean, who would have thought it? You need to have medium upgrades to fight an army of medium upgrades. Even if it's Norse versus Greek, you have to do it. As GrassenGroom retreats back, Grand Monster with an incredible advantage here. And the question is, essentially, the big question is, for Grand Monster, do you just go for the gold mine now? Answer, I know the answer is yes. Go for the gold mine. But the question is, does Grand Monster know that this map is a 2 gold mine kind of map? There are 5 gold mines in the middle of the map. Is there another one somewhere else? No, there's not. So it's a bit of a strange one with 5 gold mines in the middle. But nonetheless, this is what we've been dealt with here in this game. As the army here of GrassenGroom going to be wandering forward here. And Grand Monster has given GrassenGroom room to breathe here, which could be a fatal mistake here from Grand Monster. Giving anyone of this caliber a chance back into this game is very, very difficult. As now we see the army of GrassenGroom making their way onto these dwarves here. It's going to be a lot of dwarf kills. Grand Monster does notice it immediately here, as the ox cart being the unit of choice to target down. So he will pick that one off, and that's, unfortunately for GrassenGroom, not really the best decision. Go after the dwarves, you're going to get more kills. The dwarves just going to move to a separate ox cart that's in the middle of the map here, no problems. And the army of Grand Monster are going to come and defend this. Nice decision from GrassenGroom to just retreat back, no problems where that's concerned. And now Grand Monster is going to be thinking about going to the next stage as fast as he possibly can. He does have a handful of farms set up, so too does now GrassenGroom have his farms. They're getting set up as Plow gets researched. We do have a Manticore. So the next period the GrassenGroom, or the next timing the GrassenGroom needs to hit here, is going to be Mythic Age. He needs to get a very, very strong Hera Mythic Age here, or things get very bad for him. As we're seeing Grand Monster say, well, time to get me a settlement. Let's get my settlement and see what's happening. These dwarves here just currently long distance mining to this ox cart as the villagers eating the Auroch need to finish that one off first. And the units here of Grand Monster are going to be happy to continue as what really is GrassenGroom's plan here. Now, if this was me, I would have put a lot of villagers onto gold, built a market, traded my way to the Mythic Age. Hera timing, only real way to go here. These farms here, a little bit of a waste of resources. It's 75 wood a piece, and then we have to pay off that wood by getting food back, etc. Just go onto gold, put everything onto gold, and go Mythic Age here. It's really the only solid answer, because everything else is going to be a little bit slow if you are going for the Hera timing. So I guess if you're going for those farms, possibly a better idea would be Town Center, and just stick it out in the Heroic Age and try and make the Heroic Age work with like heavy upgrades or something of that variety here, as the throwing axemen going to be wandering forward to throw this hill fort up. Grand Monster now 2 town centers, farms coming down nicely and in a decent way as this hill fort is under construction. 800 HP, and it doesn't look like GrassenGroom's going to be able to put that pressure on just yet. We do see irrigation coming through. Still no town center up. The villagers are going to be making their way over, potentially going to grab this town center here as heavy infantry coming through for Grand Monster. And now Grand Monster going to be making his way up to the top side of the map. There is a very, very weird but serious problem that Grand Monster and or GrassenGroom is going to have to overcome, and that's that all the gold mines after that second gold mine are in the center of the map. So controlling the center is vitally important, while the town centers don't really give you that location there, or that presence. So a Ragnarok here is going to be strong. A variety of different things going to be strong. So we will be seeing Grand Monster deciding to finish off that tower to cut off the line of sight here just a little bit. Units here retreating back underneath the hill fort as the Oxguards doing what they can. We do see some units here surrounding GrassenGroom's army, but with the Manticore, it's a little bit scary here as these units of Grand Monster are going to come in, check this town center out, and spot these villagers gathering. This is going to be a big amount of damage here onto GrassenGroom, and he does make a really nice retreat here through this wall, so he's going to have some sort of a retreat path as the army of GrassenGroom spot the buildings coming up in the middle of the map from Grand Monster. As Grand Monster makes a fairly accurate decision here that oh, there's nowhere to go. There's no gold mines to grab. 2 town centers now for GrassenGroom. The villagers coming up over here. This means that a big frost onto a huge amount of villagers and army is potential as the villagers retreating back for GrassenGroom, and the panic is very real here from GrassenGroom, kind of realizing the mistake that he's made here as frost is available. The villagers retreating away from the army, still not getting used. The villagers are idle, so I guess he doesn't have to frost it. There is the frost. The villagers, he does manage to keep 9 of them alive. Going to return back onto this gold mine over here. 113 of 130 population. GrassenGroom's 130 of 130 population here. As the walls getting thrown up. Shaft mine coming through for GrassenGroom in a desperate attempt to try and get this gold mine for himself. We see a longhouse coming here to try and prevent any sort of retreat. And we'll see how it's all going to go as some villagers going to try and snake this gold mine. Very, very nice try here from GrassenGroom as Winter Harvest coming through for Grand Monster. We've talked about this before, but if you consider favor free for Norse players, Winter Harvest is 200 food and the same as irrigation plus plow. As the wall's coming up, the army trying to retreat here. I think that this is a little bit poorly executed from Grand Monster to try and prevent the army from retreating. But if you consider Winter Harvest, plow and irrigation, very cheap. It's cheaper than irrigation and a touch more than plow. So it's both of them. Anyways, the Heavy Huskal are actually a decent counter to this Manticore. Low hack armor and also high pierce armor for the Huskal. So they managed to take down that Manticore very, very easily. And all of these Toxotes managed to get taken out. And Grand Monster with a huge advantage right now. So we also see the Frost Giant getting chased by Heracles here. Big man with his big club deciding to bash the big giant. And the giant says, oh, let me away. Run away. Toxotes trying to take down this longhouse here as now we see a town center getting grabbed by Grand Monster as he is allowing this gold mine to get grabbed. Meanwhile, town center in the left side of the map getting grabbed by Grand Monster as well as more units getting built here for Grand Monster. We see these villagers over here that have decided to build a storehouse have been spotted. But 4 town center advantage coming up for Grand Monster as the unit's still fighting in the middle of the map. It's not a fight really that Grand Monster should be taking here. His army gets pretty brutally beaten at this stage here. 122 population for Grand Monster is GrassenGroom is at 108 of 130 population. 100 favor in the bank here for GrassenGroom, so we'll see where that's going to go as making some Pegasus. So definitely wants to think about some sort of an underworld at this stage, potentially onto this town center or something like this as these villagers continuing to happily mine on that position. Surely Grand Monster is going to have somewhat of an inkling that, well, that this gold mine here exists. I mean, he can't be here, he can't be here, he's definitely not here. So he has to be here. Process of elimination here. As now, Grand Monster, he is 130 out of 145 population. Town center just about to pop here. A second hill fort's going to be great for the production of those Huskal. And we are starting to see some some Hapaspis coming out, which is scary for the infantry heavy army that Grand Monster has created. But unlike a lot of the times, this army here is not the be-all and end-all for Grand Monster. You can very easily move into cavalry units, and he's making Jarl and getting heavy cavalry, and that's going to put to bed those Hapaspis of GrassenGroom, even though the infantry here seem to have been cleaned up fairly easily here. as we see those infantry units bashing down all these units as best as they possibly can. GrassenGroom got to be happy about the position he's in, but we do see a Jarl spotting this location over here, going to start picking off these villages pretty quickly. 11.7 damage per second. We see a Underworld here onto this position going after the town center of Grand Monster. There's some good amounts of farms over here as GrassenGroom spots this, and he comes in. How many units? He's got 10 infantry units here, 11 infantry units plus the Jason plus the Heracles. This town center is going to go down fairly fast. The fortress will come up as well, but the units here for Grand Monster are going to turn around and easily defend this, I would assume. But some good damage being done by GrassenGroom. This is very, very smart play here from GrassenGroom. It's like when you're behind, or when you're at any point in the game, really, attack your opponent where they're weakest. We do see the villagers popping out, getting converted to repair this town center as best as they can. The hoplite's still getting some good damage done. Mason's coming in there just in time. Incredibly clutch, and the town center doesn't manage to go down. The fortress is up on this position, and Grand Monster manages to keep himself in this game with an incredibly clutch Masons there. Technology to keep him alive. Especially with the help of those old cycle that got converted there, or villagers that got converted, as the underworld passage gets taken down. The units moving on to this gold mine over here. This town center still very much alive, as well as the army of GrassenGroom going to be refocusing its attention onto this top town center over here. And we'll see where they're going to be going as the dwarves swinging around onto this gold mine here. The villagers have been pushed off over here. They will be potentially making their way over onto this location here. We are seeing fortified town centers coming through for Grand Monster. Will this be yet another situation where Grand Monster manages to save his town center by the sheer timing of getting those upgrades that he's managed to do here? As the units going to push in and try and take this fortress down. I do think that Grand Monster's got to be fairly privy to the fact that this gold mine here, there's not any other gold mines on the map. We do see some side builds coming down for Grand Monster as well, which I absolutely love. Even while this is all going on, it seems like the town center is actually winning this fight with only 5 infantry units remaining. The fortified town center is on its way here at 70%. And I mean, GrassenGroom going to send some villagers forward to try and take it down. He doesn't actually have the gold at this point to build this one up, and it seems like Grand Monster is just too far in front right now after all the damage is said and done. And yet again, fortified town centers comes in very clutch here, as now the villagers going to take even more damage. If you're unaware, fortified town centers also gives +6 pierce damage. And that's enough there for GrassenGroom to say, I've had enough. Tier was on the way as well. Grand Monster playing this one incredibly well. Gets the win, gets the series win. So it doesn't mean we're going to see no more of GrassenGroom. This is just the group stages, but Grand Monster gets the dub here. A nice try from GrassenGroom. I do think that a little bit more importance as to, or a little bit more knowledge as to what happens when you advance later is really important. So if you advance later, you need to think about tech, you need to think about extra units you could potentially get. So the 2 options you can get are Minotaur or hand axe, pickaxe. Those are the options if you advance late. So here, had GrassenGroom got himself early hand axe and a Minotaur because he advanced so late, he would have had a lot more ability to put pressure on early game, and or had more resources later in the game to continue in a better kind of situation here. But Grand Monster played this one incredibly well. If you guys enjoyed this game, please consider hitting the follow on the Twitch. If you're on the YouTubes, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next game.